Have you ever bumped into your cat outside of your house in the neighborhood? How was the interaction? I was driving past a school a couple of blocks from home and saw his fat butt disappearing through a side gate. Pulled over and said to him through the fence, "What are you doing out here?" You could see from the confusion on his face that he was surprised to see me. It was all wait, what? He meowed at me a couple of times then wandered off to whatever business he was up to. Mayo, you make it sound like he's your friend and you're fricking with him, lol. I grew up in a rural community where it was common to have cats wandering around in the neighborhood. We had a cat that always came over to our place that we fed. She was the friendliest cat, as long as she was within the bounds of our property. As soon as she left the edge of our driveway though, she would run away from you if you tried to approach her. Not sure why being outside of our lawn caused a 180-degree personality shift, but that's the way she was. I've had boyfriends with similar tendencies. I ask him, "Why are you outside? Ricardo, you are an indoor kitty. Do not run or resist. I have you now. Return to me." And then he just run. Your cat has the best name. When I was a kid we lived near the school and my cat would listen for the recess bell and come find me on the playground. She got confused when I went to junior high and wasn't there at recess anymore. That's adorable. Yeah, found out he would regularly visit the pub which was down the end of the street and through an alley. He would go there and beg food from people sitting on the benches outside. He looked deeply guilty when he saw me standing watching him. I can explain. My cat pretends he doesn't know who I am if he's anything further afield than our driveway. Literally just acts like I'm cramping his style. He's a prick and I adore him. My old neighborhood was home to a lot of friendly strays that my cat befriended. I'd let him out while I was at work to chill with them. He acted like he didn't know me when they were around, but really he's a baby that gets sad if I come home late. I came across my cat down the road near the busy main road. I was concerned that she would get run over, so I picked her up and decided to walk her home. She didn't mind at first as she is quite used to being picked up, but it was a good 5-minute walk to our house and she started to struggle more and more on the way up to a point where I struggled to contain her. When I finally got home I could not get the keys out of my pocket as I needed to restrain her, so I knocked the door. My girlfriend came to the door and looked at me as if I was crazy. I said, "I found Charlie near the main road. I didn't know she roams that far, so I brought her back to avoid her getting run over." She stared at me for another 10 seconds before she said, "That's not Charlie. Charlie is asleep on the sofa." I once chased a cat around my neighborhood for a good 25 minutes, trying to get my cat in so I could go to bed. Come home after not even catching the cat, and my cat is sleeping in my bed. My family had 3 cats, 2 now. The one this comment concerns passed away this spring. 2 out of 3 liked the occasional wander, but the third, Sephora, preferred to stay at home and be an old grumpy cat lady. She did not like other cats, people or anyone who wasn't me or my parents. But sometimes, when I was walking home from school, I would spot her a bit away from our home charming all the neighborhood kids for cuddles. I never intervened or acted like I noticed, and if she heard me she'd leave. But I knew. Sounds like she was a cool cat. So sorry for your loss. She waits by the side of the street every evening. When she sees me coming around the corner, she runs towards me, making little weird sounds. Then she rubs herself all over me and follows me inside the house. When I was living at my parents' we had brought in a stray cat and named her Molly. Whenever I left the house for work, Molly would escort me to the end of the road, and when I came home late at night after going out to the pub club, Molly would hear me and meet me halfway down the road as I was heading back. Best cat ever. Not me, but my mom would tell this story every time I sang the song about Freddie Wilson's cat growing up. In the summer my indoor childhood cat would sit in the windows and occasionally pop out the screens. One night he did this and my mom caught him casually walking down the street when she was coming home from work. She just got out of the car and asked him exactly where the heck he thought he was going, lol. He took off into the ravine, and she prepared to have to tell very young me that our cat ran away. By the time she got through the neighborhood though, he was waiting in the carport. There is a Mexican expression, cats and drunk people. God knows how, but they always find their way home. Panicked because he doesn't like other people, then realized it was me and acted smug that his human was with him. Yeah, I take my human for walks, don't you? She likes being near me when we're outside together, but if I try to pet her, she acts like, stop, my friends will see, so we just chill together near each other. My boyfriend's cat jumped into my backpack after I got off the bus in high school. That's skillful. My parents' cat has learned the sound of all of our car engines and knows not to be afraid. So one night, as I was driving home from work, he was out wandering the neighborhood and stopped a nice couple out for a walk to get some belly rubs. I turn onto our street. His ears perk up and he runs to the middle of the road. This couple is freaking out, trying to get him back to the side of the road cause, you know, there's a car coming. I pull off to the side, start yelling explicits at him as I get out of my car. The couple is trying to explain that he just ran to the middle of the road. They were trying to get him out of the road. They don't know who he belongs to. I apologized, told them he's my cat and he always runs in front of our cars. Looked at him, said, "Zipper, you stupid cat, get in the car, we're going home." He jumped in and off we went. I don't know who scared the couple more, the cat running in front of the car, or the crazy woman in the car yelling at the cat. I found him with stray cats, then he totally ignored me. When he came home later, I sat him down and had a serious talk with him about hanging out with strays. Since then, every time I bump into him, he abandons his friends and runs home, then acts all cute when I get there. I drove around the corner one time and saw my cat sitting in a circle of other cats and I rolled down the window and I was like, "Smoky cloud, what on earth do you think you are doing?" And his eyes snapped up and locked with mine and all the cats scattered. He looked so guilty when I got home. He was hanging out with some other humans while sitting on my wall. Traitor. The postal worker once asked me if I knew where the poor little stray cat came from that she'd seen hanging around my house. Apparently my cat was begging so hard she thought Kitty was homeless. My current little void demon is an indoor-only cat for several reasons, but I did interact with her once outside. We lived in a caravan at the time, next to an old rundown shed. Went out one morning, with the windows open, screens closed, so she could have fresh air. Came home, parked by the shed, looked at the gap where the metal door had been bent out of shape, and there she is sitting in the doorway. My dumb ass, having previously lived rurally with outdoor cats, simply looks at her and goes, "Oh hi girl." Wait, it turns out the sneaky little sucker literally learned how to flick those little clasps to the side to open the screen. Then she'd lift it and wiggle out. Ended up watching her attempt to get out this way several times to confirm we hadn't gone crazy, and then she lost window privileges. At least your cat opened the screen. My cat will just claw himself a hole in the screen. I lived behind a big field forest growing up that was on the border to my neighborhood. One time my cat came strutting out of the wilderness while me and my friends were playing with a giant dead bird in its mouth. He saw us and stopped, then slowly turned around back into the wilderness. That was the day I learned my cute Mr. Skittles was living a double violent life. I once got home from work to find my cat basically glued to the ground in front of the door crying her head off. Turns out she snuck out when my roommate got home and he didn't notice, and she was sitting there for 15 minutes. When I was in high school, my friend's cat used to come visit me at my house. Always took a picture of us cuddling to show her who the cat's favorite really was. That cat looks just like my cat. Walks up to our apartment and sees broken screen from the second story window. Looks back at cat. Meow. He was fine and happy to have explored the neighborhood, I guess. I had an outdoors cat as a little kid. Also had a large woods behind my house. One day when I was about 10, I went walking in the woods because I knew there were some blackberry bushes and wished to partake. On the way back I encountered my cat. This animal usually gave the impression he gave not one particle of a frick about anything. I have a vivid memory of him strutting through the backyard dragging a rabbit twice his size with its throat torn open. He was king of the frickin' Pride Lands, and when he ran into me in the woods he immediately freaked out. I can only assume he thought I was lost back there because he started running circles around my legs, then walking about 10 feet in the direction of my house, then meowing at me, then repeating. I followed him all the way home. He went right back to normal after that, but I never forgot what a true bro he was underneath the attitude. That's so cute. He was worried because he thought you were a house human and wouldn't be able to survive outside. Not cats but crows that I sometimes hang out with. Sometimes they'll be doing their thing eating crap from the side of the road and I'll just be out heading to work or walking with friends and we will bump into each other. It's freaking weird because you basically have that interaction that you always have when bumping into someone you know, where you just head nod and say hey, but with a crow. Not sure this is what OP is going for, but there was one summer we were staying with in-laws and my cat would spend the day outside. When I got home, I would whistle for him, and he'd come out from wherever he was hiding and basically ask me to carry him inside for snuggles until the next day. It was very sweet. My cat does the cutest crap ever. Whenever I bump into her while walking outside of the house, she'll run over and meow at me while laying down so that I can pet her. Once I finish giving her pets, she happily follows me on my walk around the neighborhood. Countless people have asked me if I've trained her to do it, but nope, I just accidentally got a doggo disguised as a cat. Every day when I come home from school he sprints as fast as his fat little sausage body can carry him from the end of my cul-de-sac. He doesn't like doing physical activity, but when I get home he becomes the Usain Bolt of cats. I love my little buddy. Suspiciously happy to see me. Yeah, he was dealing M on the corner of 4th. Happened once with somebody else's cat, which had been presumed lost. Little guy looked super healthy and happy and had a tag on a collar. At his former home he hadn't been fed all that well and was also an outdoor cat. I said nothing to anyone. Growing up, our cat was an indoor-outdoor cat that liked to prowl the woods behind the house. I lived around the corner from our elementary school, whose playground butted up to these woods. My 5th grade class was always really warm, so my teacher would leave the fire door open a few inches to let in a breeze. One day, we were having some SSR time. Silent, sustained reading and I feel something bump my leg. I look down and there is my cat purring and begging for pets. He was a gruff old tomcat at this point with only one ear and plenty of battle scars, but was as cuddly as a kitten most days. I raised my hand. My teacher came over and just about crap herself. I explained that he is my cat and that he probably followed my scent. I almost got suspended for it because they thought I had tried to sneak him in or something. I got to walk him outside, say goodbye, and quickly close the fire door behind me. AWW, that's cute. Sucks that he got kicked out though. I was standing on the doorstep of my friend's house, a few streets over from my house, and both of my cat appeared on the step and tried to come inside with me. So, I was 12ish, and I adopted Smokey the cat, little grey baby I loved. After a few weeks, he snuck out, and I spent a few weeks looking for him. I couldn't find him. I was super upset, but I hoped he found a new home. We lived in farm country, so we just assumed he was a barn cat or learned to fend for himself. Fast forward 5 years, I'm babysitting a neighborhood kid, and we are walking around the neighborhood. We pass an older couple working on their front yard, with their cat hanging out supervising. I don't know why, but that cat stared at me, like, there was more feeling in his face than some people have. He trotted over to me, rubbed on my legs, and then returned to his post by the garage. We are having a little chat with the neighbors and they are shocked. Apparently, this cat avoids everyone, and I'm the first person since they found him 5 years ago. Tom the cat apparently showed up on their porch a few years back, right after they were going through a tough time, and the timing lines up for about when Smokey ran away. I have no idea if that was my Smokey, but like to think he was, and just knew that family needed him more than I did. Awkward. He was with his girl and I was naked. Once I was on our neighborhood sled hill, was maybe 12. I went down with some friends and then we could hear some commotion at the top of the hill. We were all confused and ran to the top, weaving between sleds as we did. Then the sight I saw on the top I will never forget. A dog was running around with such excitement, pushing sleds down the hill with children and them as they were waiting for their parents to join them, knocking people over who then slid all the way down the icy hill on their stomach. It was my dog, who had somehow escaped the house by sliding open our sliding door with his nose. Then he ran to our city sledding hill to harass the locals. He looked just as surprised to see me as I was to see him. A disturbing lack of cat tax pictures. I used to live behind my work. The only barrier was a parking lot and a couple 8-foot walls. She would be out at the restaurant back door at my lunch and I'd feed her chicken from my meal. When I got off at 3 AM, she'd be there and walk me home cause I had to go around the block. She was a good cat and I miss her terribly. I used to have 2 cats who were constant wanderers. Often I would be walking home from the shops and halfway through my suburb I would awkwardly meet with my cats on the sidewalk. They were either delighted to see me and would follow me back mewing for food and demanding to be carried, or we would pretend not to know each other and go our separate ways and act like the event never happened when they got home. Another cat of mine I would regularly meet with on my way home from the bus stop and he'd follow me back because he wanted food and attention. Yep, here's how it went. Me. What the frick? How did you get out again? Cat, acts innocent. Literally sauntered out the door. Me. You fricking gremlin, get over here. I scoop him up and carry his fat butt back to the house. Note, I love my kitty to bits. He can be a sweet chonker sometimes. This is just how I express my love to him. When I go down the local woods or head to the bus stop with my wife and daughters, both of our cats will follow us and wait in the general area for us to get home. Backfired on them one day when we went out to head into town, so we went the usual way to the bus stop. Our smaller cat followed us most of the way there and then stopped. We had our day in town, then on the way back we went a different way. The cat was nowhere to be seen. He hunted high and low. We rattled the food box out the door. Nothing. Her sister was there and was fine, but not the smaller one. She was gone for a whole day, which was very unlike her. We ended up walking up the road all the way to the bus stop where she hopped out of a bush and followed us home again. It was like she had waited there that whole time for us to get back. I bumped across my tortoise once. When I checked at home, he had run away from home because the gate was left open by someone. Brought him back. Our cat is basically the neighborhood's cat. He just happens to grace us with his presence when he doesn't feel like being outside anymore. Everyone knows Leo. He loves people and people love him. People many blocks away that we don't know love Leo. He just wanders around the neighborhood begging for head scratches from anyone and everyone that will pay him attention. If we run into him on walks, he will literally sprint across the street to join us for the entire walk. Sometimes he walks behind us, or will lounge in the grass for a bit until we get too far away. Then he will run to catch up with us only to continue lounging in the grass. Until repeat. The neighbors don't say hi to us, they say hi to Leo. There's this white and orange sweetie who walks me about half a block to or from the bus stop when it sees me, cries when it sees me, runs up, rubs all up on my legs while I'm walking, then eventually sits at the end of its domain and lets me continue on. There's another orange cat we see around sometimes. Less interaction, but we have to keep an eye out when we're bringing groceries, cause he tries to get in the house. Showed up at our first viewing of the place with the same stunt. I think he wanted to give us the tour. You have been visited by the party pug. He just wants you to celebrate with him. Comment woohoo to celebrate with the party pug. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.